Good morning, Year 4, and welcome back to Science. This week we are going to be looking at teeth still, but in specific detail we are going to be looking at the teeth of different animals and seeing whether they are omnivores, herbivores, or carnivores. On your screen now you'll see that we are going to be revising the names and jobs of each of the teeth, know why animals need teeth, and also understand what herbivores, carnivores, and omnivores are and how this affects the shape of their teeth. Okay, so first up, let's try and revise the names and jobs of each of the teeth. I want you now to pause this video and see if you can write down on a piece of paper the three main different types of teeth that we have and what those teeth do. So think back to last lesson and last week. We looked at there's three types of teeth. What are those three types of teeth and what are their roles? Remember, make sure you pause the video so you've got some time to write that down. Now that you've had some time to see if you can remember what three types of teeth we have, let's check our answers and see if we were correct. So, the main three types of teeth are the following. Remember, we have the incisors. These are the teeth that are found right at the front of our mouth, and these are like the scissors in our mouth because they are used to cut the food up. Next to those, moving backwards in our mouths, we have the canines. These are teeth that are to help tear and grip food like French bread or meat. Okay, very strong, very sharp. Moving further back in our mouths, we then have the molars. Okay, now these molars are used to grind the food before you swallow it. They're right at the back of your mouth, they're very strong, and they're also very flat, which helps them to be able to grind the food that they need to. Well done if you manage to remember all three of those types. If not, do not worry. Okay, because we've recapped them right now. Okay, so what are herbivores, carnivores, and omnivores? Well, as the names suggest, a herbivore is an animal that tends to eat a vegetarian diet. So they tend to eat plants. A carnivore is slightly different, coming from the word carnivorous, and they are animals that tend to eat meat. And then we also have something called the omnivores. And omnivores are basically a combination of a herbivore and a carnivore. So omnivores tend to eat everything. They eat both plants and also meat. Now that we've covered what the different types of animals are, we are going to need to obviously write down some notes. So I would like you to get a piece of paper. I'd like you to write the title, types of animals. And then once you've written the title, you can then get ready to write down the following. So if you need to pause the video, pause it now so you can write the title and we'll carry on. So as I mentioned just now, the different types of animals are the following. We have the herbivores, and you need to write these down. Herbivores are animals that only eat plants such as fruit, vegetables, or grass. In theory, therefore, they are vegetarians. So pause the video now and write down the information and the sentence that talks about herbivores. Now that you've written your notes on herbivores, it's time to write some notes about carnivores. So what are carnivores? Well, carnivores only eat meat. They are often very good hunters, and they would never eat vegetables or fruit. Now again, time to pause the video so you can write down the information about carnivores. Great stuff. Now you've written about carnivores, it's now time to write about omnivores. So what are omnivores? Well, omnivores eat both meat and vegetables, and most people on the planet Earth are omnivores. Okay, some people choose to be vegetarian, so they might class themselves as herbivores, but most humans are omnivores. Again, time to pause the video now and write down all the information about omnivores that you see at the bottom of the screen. So we're now going to look at a variety of different animal skulls, which also include their teeth, just to see what types of teeth they have and how they are adapted for their function. So starting off, we have the bear. A bear is an omnivore, so it eats both plants and also meat. You can see this in the sense that it has some nice sharp canines towards the front of its mouth and then some nice big molars towards the back. So a bear is that omnivore. Moving on, we have what looks like a beaver skull. Again, a beaver is a herbivore. So it's got lots of molars, as you can see at the back of its mouth, but it also has some large incisors at the front which help it grab those plants and tear them off the plants and trees that it might eat from. Next up, we have what looks like a pig skull. So a pig skull. Pigs are omnivores. Again, lots of big molars at the back to help grind their teeth, but they also have towards the front of their mouths some slightly sharper canines and incisors to help tear apart their food. Next up, we have the deer. Again, lots of molars suggesting that this animal is an herbivore, and again, some incisors towards the front of its mouth, so it can then again, like I said, tear and grab those grasses and plants and leaves off different trees and bushes as well. Next up, we have the fox, and from this skull it's quite easy to see that the fox is a carnivore. Very large incisors at the front, a series of sharp canines in the middle, and then some molars towards the back. So the fox is our first carnivore. Moving on, we then have the goat, and it is very similar to the deer. Again, at the front you have some incisors to be able to tear the herbs and plants that it wants to eat, and then at the back we have a large amount of molars so it can grind that food down before swallowing it. Next up, we have our next carnivore, and this is, as I'm sure you might be able to guess, an alligator. Again, lots and lots of very sharp incisors and canines present, very few molars. Again, because this animal is primarily designed to be able to tear apart its prey and eat it. It doesn't need to grind that food up too much. So a lot of the teeth are all designed for tearing and cutting. Next up, we have, which you might guess, a snake skull here, and this is the skull of a boa constrictor. Again, it is a carnivore. It's easily to see it's a carnivore. It has an abundance of really, really sharp teeth, so it can tear and cut up its prey before swallowing it. As you can see, there are pretty much no molars present at all. It doesn't do any grinding. It's purely designed to tear and cut up its prey. Okay, so now that I've gone through a variety of those different animals, it's now time for you to organise the following animals into the three groups, according to whether they are herbivores, carnivores, or omnivores. If you need to rewind the video to listen to what I say, then you can do so, or if you think you can give it a good go yourself, then have a good go at doing that. So, you'll need to write three subheadings down: herbivores, omnivores, and carnivores. And then under those subheadings, you'll need to put the animals that you think. So for example, this isn't correct, but my example is, under herbivores, you might put bear, pig, and boa constrictor. Now obviously that's not correct. Okay, this is the list of the animals, so pause the video, have a look at the list, and see if you can put them into the three different categories. Now that you've had a good go at putting your animals into the correct categories, let's find out if you are correct. So, here are our herbivores. We have the beaver, we have the deer, and we have the goat. All quite similar shaped skulls, lots of molars present to be able to grind those plants down before they are swallowed. Next up, we have the carnivores, and the following are in the carnivores category. We have the fox, we have the boa constrictor, and we have the alligator. Again, lots of sharp canines and incisors present and very few molars. And that leaves us with the final two, which are our omnivores. We have the pig and we have the bear. Again, sets of teeth designed to be able to eat both plants and also meat. Okay, that's nearly enough of me talking. So let's have a look at the task that we're going to be doing now. So you are going to have a worksheet to complete, which you can find on Microsoft Teams. You need to look at the animal skulls on the sheet. What do their teeth look like? What does this tell us about their diet? And if you want, as a bonus, you can also guess which animal they each are. So what you need to do is head over to Microsoft Teams. The worksheet has been put on Microsoft Teams for you to access. And at the top of that worksheet are also all the instructions that you need to be able to complete that worksheet. Remember, if you can't or are stuck at any point or don't understand anything, don't forget to type your questions into Microsoft Teams in the questions channel and your teacher will answer them for you. Good luck, and we'll discuss the answers at the end of the lesson. Well done.